So I recently read these two wonderful books. First off, A Young Doctor's Notebook by Mikhail Bulgakov, although it's sometimes called A Country Doctor's Notebook. And another one called Tales of Adventure and Medical Life by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Excuse me. Now, although the first part of this book isn't necessarily related to medical things, the second half definitely is. And this book, of course, is full of medical things. And the reason for this is, of course, both authors were at early points of their life doctors, surgeons, physicians, whatever. And in this book, Bulgakov describes pretty much his experiences as a doctor in rural, out of the way Russia in 1917. Of course, a very tumultuous year. And in this one, in Medical Life, Doyle has a lot of rather entertaining and moving stories, probably in part from his own experiences in the medical profession as well. But they're very interesting. A lot of, thoughts about country doctors, male, female doctors, and, there's some rather moving tales in there, as there are in here as well. And it got me thinking. But what it got me thinking about, you have to wait for the end of the introduction. Hello, everyone. Welcome to and welcome back to Book Time with Elvis with me, Mark, and another edition of Tales from Beyond the Rabbit Hole. And these two books inspired today's topic, and that was authors and their day jobs. Well, first off, of course, I thought I would look into a number of authors that were doctors, and there seem to be quite a few of them, our two that we just mentioned aside. Chekhov was a doctor. Oliver Goldsmith was a doctor. There were quite a few, actually. Probably too many for me to go through. William Somerset Maugham was a doctor, as well as more modern ones. Khalid Hosseini was also a physician. Michael Crichton, of course, from Jurassic Park, also had a medical background. And of course, he was one of the creators of the show ER, which I guess isn't surprising given that particular background. But when you Google it, you get, well over 40, 50 well-known authors who were or had some experience of the medical profession, including Francois Rabelais, John Keats, Nawal El-Sawadi, Silas Weir Mitchell, among others, Theodore Dalrymple, Friedrich Schiller, and the author Robin Cook, not the politician Robin Cook, there as well. And I just started thinking, well, it's really interesting. And I guess you see it, of course, in their work. I mean, if we take at least Conan Doyle's work, we have Sherlock Holmes, of course, the most famous work. And who's Sherlock Holmes' assistant? A doctor, Dr. Watson. So maybe it's based somewhat off him. But it got me thinking, what other jobs did authors have before they became well known? I don't know, for example, in Anthony Trollope's case, whether he became Postmaster General because he was Anthony Trollope, or he was doing that before he really took up writing full time. I suspect it's the former. But well-known authors, for example, Kurt Vonnegut, he worked as a car salesman, specifically in a Saab dealership. William Faulkner was a mailman, rather, not a milkman, though that would have been quite good. Stephen King was a caretaker / janitor, but I suppose that's common knowledge, given, of course, that he uses that in his book, The Shining. Harper Lee was a clerk on an airline reservations desk. John Grisham was a plumber. Charles Dickens worked in a shoe polish factory. Nicholas Sparks was a telephone dental product salesman. T.S. Eliot was a banker. Margaret Atwood worked in a coffee shop. Jack London was an oyster pirate, whatever that is. Oyster pirate apparently is a poetic term for basically what is a fish burglar, looting seafood to sell, kind of not on the black market, but taking other people's seafood and selling it behind their back. So that's kind of interesting, I guess. Uh, John Steinbeck had a myriad of jobs, from a construction worker to somebody who made mannequins. Um, Franz Kafka was a legal clerk, and he also worked. He also co-owned an asbestos factory. Fyodor Dostoevsky was an engineer, military engineer to be more specific. Douglas Adams from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy was a bodyguard. Interesting. Apparently, a bodyguard for a wealthy Arabian family. Anne Rice was an insurance claims writer. William S. Burroughs was an exterminator. So Agatha Christie was an apothecary's assistant. I suppose that's where she got her knowledge of poisons and things from. And George Orwell, come of course to no surprise if you know his work, because he writes about it. He was an Indian imperial police officer, during the last or later days of the Raj. J.D. Salinger was a cruise line activities director. Now, if you've read Catcher in the Rye, you wouldn't imagine him being in charge of light entertainment, probably. George Bernard Shaw worked for the telephone company. Charlotte Bronte was a governess. If you knew that, I didn't know that. It's fascinating, what people did. Apparently, James Joyce was a cinematic operator before he became well known. Jack Kerouac, unsurprisingly, had a load of different jobs. One of them being a dishwasher, not a dishwasher machine, but actually washing dishes in a restaurant. But you knew I meant that. But I still think probably my favorite is oyster pirate. Which is pretty cool. I might consider a career change myself, but really, I just thought this was a lot of fun, and I would like you, of course, to put in the comments below and tell me what you think, and if you know of any other authors or who had interesting jobs, or any of the authors I mentioned who had jobs that I didn't mention, would also be kind of fun. And that's it. That's my offering for today's Tales from Beyond the Rabbit Hole. Do take care, everybody. See you all soon. Bye bye.